I want to tell you the story of a man who saw our digital world coming, long, long before it ever arrived. A brilliant mathematician who looked at the very machines he was helping to create and was filled with a deep, profound sense of dread. We're surrounded by all this technology that feels both miraculous and, let's be honest, kind of menacing. We worry about algorithms making huge decisions about our lives, about automation taking our jobs. But what if I told you the blueprint for our biggest modern anxieties was drawn up decades ago by the very person who helped invent it all? So, to really get a grip on our present, we first need to meet this ghost from our technological past. The guy who realized that the most important questions about our machines aren't technical at all, they're moral. Yeah, that question, who's really in control? It's not just something we wrestle with on Twitter. It's the central problem identified by one of the 20th century's most brilliant and maybe most troubled minds. He saw that communication and control are literally the fabric of society, and he knew that these new machines could change that fabric forever. So let's meet him. Let's meet this prophet, the man who laid the foundations for our entire digital era, and then spent the rest of his life terrified of what we might build on top of them. This is Norbert Wiener. And you gotta understand, he wasn't just some inventor locked away in an ivory tower. He was this incredibly imaginative critic who was deeply, deeply concerned with the social and moral impact of his work. He didn't just see himself as a creator, he saw himself as someone responsible for the consequences. And think about the time he was working in, the absolute heat of World War II, the dawn of the Cold War. His ideas were forged in this period of incredible technological and political tension. And while all his colleagues were celebrating these new partnerships with the government and the military, Wiener started getting wary. He eventually refused to work on military research, which, you can imagine, basically made him an outcast in a lot of scientific circles. This quote right here, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? This shows how early on he recognized that you couldn't separate scientific creation from its consequences. He believed that pure math and applied science were totally intertwined, that every single discovery had the potential to be weaponized, and that scientists had a moral duty to think about that outcome. Okay, so to really get why he was so worried, we need to understand two monumental ideas at the heart of his work. These were like the philosophical tools he used to make sense of the world, and they're absolutely essential to understanding his fears for our future. Wiener saw the entire universe as this fundamental struggle. You've got this powerful force of chaos on one side, constantly trying to break everything down. And then there's us, life, society, our machines, fighting like hell to create these little pockets of order. So first up is entropy. You can think of it as the universe's default setting. It's this relentless march from order towards disorder, from a complex system to just a uniform mess. It's the reason your hot coffee gets cold and why a sandcastle always gets washed away by the tide. And then you've got cybernetics. This was our weapon in that fight. It's the study of how living things and complex machines use information and feedback to maintain order and to achieve their goals. It's how we swim upstream against that massive current of chaos. And this is a brilliant way to see that core concept, feedback, in action. Wiener realized that the process an anti-aircraft gun uses to track a plane, taking in data, adjusting, getting feedback, correcting again, it's fundamentally the same process you use to just pick up a cigar. It's all a continuous loop of communication and control. So, armed with this really powerful understanding of cybernetics, Wiener looked toward the future. But unlike all the techno-optimists of his day, what he saw were these chilling possibilities that, frankly, sound eerily familiar to us right now. His predictions were just, wow, they were sweeping and so prescient. He warned that automation could make human labor worthless, fearing unemployment on a scale that would make the Great Depression look like a pleasant joke. He saw how information technology could be the perfect tool for centralizing power, and he feared that a scientific arms race could lock us into this terrifying, endless spiral of self-destruction. But here's where he really hits you with a gut punch. He compared our relationship with intelligent machines to that classic horror story, The Monkey's Paw, where a magical item grants wishes, but in the most horrific way possible. You get exactly what you ask for, but it's never, ever what you truly want. And this is the absolute core of his warning. The danger isn't some evil, malicious AI like you see in the movies. No. The danger is a completely obedient, literal-minded machine that just executes its programming perfectly, without any context, any wisdom, or any understanding of human values. It will achieve the goal we give it, no matter what the unintended catastrophic consequences might be. So all of this, all these fears, it leads to his ultimate, timeless plea for how we should handle technology. The title of his most famous book wasn't some dry technical manual. It was a moral statement. He was practically shouting from the rooftops that the most important questions aren't, can we build this, but should we build this, and how is this going to shape our lives? He insisted that technology isn't something that just happens to us, like the weather. It is a product of our choices, our moral choices, and we are responsible for the world it creates. He was urging us, begging us, to shift our focus from capability to consequence. Decades before we started having mainstream conversations about the ethics of AI, Norbert Wiener was pleading with everyone to stop being so dazzled by the what and start focusing on the how and the why. And that's really the question he leaves for us, isn't it? It's a challenge that just hangs in the air over every new app, every new algorithm, every single line of code that gets written today. Are we building systems that enhance human dignity, creativity, and freedom? Or are we building a world where human beings are just made to serve the cold logic of the machine? The choice, he insisted, is ours.